All right, so number one, Mr. Richardson is designing an extra special refrigerator to hold slime. It will have a length of 9 feet, a width of 8 feet, and a depth of 6 feet. What is the volume of his extra special slime storing refrigerator? Now, remember, a refrigerator is typically the size, or the shape, sorry, of a rectangular prism, so we know it's going to look like that. It has a length of 9 feet and a width of 8 feet and a depth of 6 feet. So the important thing here is we need to remember that volume is equal to length times width times height. But in this question, we're given a depth instead of a height. Remember, a height and depth are interchangeable. It's just a matter of perspective. If you're up here and you're looking down, that's depth. If you're down here and looking up, that's height. So we can say that the length is 9, the width is 8, and the height is 6. So the volume of this refrigerator is going to be 9 times 8 times 6. You're allowed to use a calculator on this test. We're testing your ability to find the length, width, and height and multiply them, not your ability to be able to multiply. So 9 times 8 is going to be 72 times 6, and then 72 times 6 is going to be 432. So this question is going to be 432 cubic feet. I'm going to click next. A cube has a volume of 27 cubic inches. What is the length of each edge of the cube? So we know that a cube looks like a rectangular prism, except there's one major difference. All the sides are equal. All the edges are the same size. So we know that the length is equal to the width and it's equal to the height. But the volume is not going to change. It's going to be length times width times height. So what we're looking for is the length of each edge of the cube. So we're looking for a length and a width and a height that multiplies to make 27. So we know that this shape is 27. It has a volume of 27 cubic inches. We need a number that multiplies itself that many times, 3 times, to make a 27 cubic inch. Let's go ahead and try out the first option. If we do 9 times 9 times 9, well, the first 9 is already going to give us 81, the first pair of 9s. So we know that the edges cannot be 9. Let me erase that. Let's try our second option, which is the 3 inches. 3 times 3 times 3. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 more is 27. So we know the answer for this question is going to be 3 inches. This cube has a length of 3 inches, a width of 3 inches, and a height of 3 inches. Go ahead and click next. What is the volume of the prism below in cubic units? Now you could do this two ways. You can count the number of cubes, or you can just figure out what you have to multiply. I'm going to go ahead and count for the first one. I see here that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. We have 25 cubes in that top row. And I see that we have 3 rows. So that means we have 25 in the top row, 25 in that middle row, and 25 on that bottom row. That's going to add up to give us 75 cubes. Now, in the case that you don't want to count, you can just measure each side. We have a length of 5, a width of 5, and then a height of 3. So we could also just do volume equals 5 times 5 times 3, which is going to be 25 times 3, which is still going to be 75. So the answer for this one is going to be 75 cubic units. Hit next. Miss K and Miss Kuhn each bought decorative boxes for Miss Thomas's toenail clipping collection. Miss K's decorative box is 10 inches long, 8 inches wide, and 5 inches high. Miss Kuhn's decorative box is 9 inches high with a base of 30 square inches. What is the total volume of both decorative boxes? Now, this is testing your understanding of volume again. Volume is equal to length times width times height. And remember, there's a second formula that we learned. It's going to be volume equals base times height, because base means they already multiplied the length and the width. So we have to use both of these this time, because we see here with Miss K's box, we have a length times width times height of 10 times 8 times 5. But with Miss Kuhn's box, Miss Kuhn, she has a box that's 9 inches high, which we know is the height because it's talking about how high it is, with a base of 30 square inches. So the base is already in, we already have the area of the base. So we know that we're going to use base times height here. So it's going to be 30 times 9. What is the total volume of both of these boxes? So that means we have two separate volumes and we have to combine them. For Miss K, we're going to do 10 times 8, which is 80, times 5, which is 400. And then for Miss Kuhn, we have 30 times 9, which is 270. So now we add these up, and we're going to get 670 cubic inches. Go ahead and click that in and hit next. Oops, what is going on? What is the volume of the figure below? The hint here says to draw it out on a piece of paper and then split it. I have this nut right here on the screen. I'm going to split it from the screen. I'm going to choose to go ahead and split this shape maybe right here. So if I remove that little bottom part, I just need to find one more dimension. You see this 5 right here? This 5 is the length of this entire side, which is also the same thing as this entire side. Those two are the same size. Now, I need to find just this section right here. And in order to find that section, I need to know what this part is over here. Well, I know that this part over here, let me erase that real quick. I know that that section right there is the same thing as this section right here. So I know that this is 2 feet. So if this entire line is 5 feet, I know that this bottom line then has to be 3 feet. So I know that this section has a height of 3 feet. So what we're working with down on this bottom part, we have a volume equals a length of 2 times a width of 1. So 2, 1 times a height of 3. And for this top box, we have a volume equal to this length, this entire length right here of 8 times a width of 1 times a height of 2. So the top box is going to equal 8 times 1 times 2, which is going to be 16. And this bottom box is going to be 2 times 1 times 3, which is going to be 6. 16 plus 6 is going to be 22 cubic feet. So we're going to go ahead and click in 22 cubic feet and hit next. Mrs. Gordon's swimming pool full of maple syrup is shaped like a rectangular prism. So she has a swimming pool shaped like a rectangular prism. It has an area of 120 square meters and a depth of 2 meters. What is the volume of the swimming pool? Think again about the two formulas we have. We have length times width times height, and we have volume equals base times height. Think to yourself, which one are we using here? We are missing the length and the width, but they did give us the area of the base. So we know that we're going to use the base times height one. In this question, that means we have an area of 120 on the base and a depth of 2. Remember, a depth is also the same thing as a height, so we can mark that as height. So we're using base times height. It's going to be 120 times 2, and that's going to be 240 cubic meters. And we're going to go ahead and click in 240 cubic meters. The diagram below shows the dimensions in centimeters of two rectangular prisms joined together. What is the combined volume of these prisms in cubic centimeters? We see here that we have two separate, I kind of cut it off. We have two separate prisms that we're going to find a total volume for. Well, let's take a look. We have the length of this one already. It's 4. We have the height of this one. So we have volume equals length times width times height. We have a length of 4. We have a height of 4. And we see that it has a width of 3. So we already have all the dimensions of this prism. 4 times 3 times 4. For the other prism, we're going to use length times width times height again. And we have a length right here, which is the same length as this. And this one right here tells us it's 2. It has a width of 3 and a height of 8. So we have all the dimensions for all the prisms. 2 times 3 is 6, times 8 is 48. 4 times 3 is 12, times 4 is 48. So when you combine these two, you get 96. So we're going to go ahead and click in 96 cubic centimeters. Mr. Lin needs to rent a storage unit for his stuffed animals and smelly socks. He needs to determine the volume of the storage unit to decide if it is big enough to hold all of his stuffed animals and smelly socks. If the storage unit is 8 feet high, what is the volume of the storage unit? Use the diagram below, which has already been cut into 2 parts for you. Hint, the diagram is not a 3D figure. Volume is 3D, area is 2D. This is just the floor of the room. So if we're looking at the height, we have to remember that this is what they're really asking us to look at. Here is the floor, and then when we make it 3D, that'll be the height of the figure. So I don't know if you guys can make this out too well. I'm trying. That'll be a 3D figure then. So that'll be the actual type of room that we're looking at. But right now they're just giving us a floor plan. So we're going to find the area of the floor plan. Well, area is length times width, and that's 2 times 2. So the area of this box right here is going to be 4 feet squared. And the area of this box right here, well, this measures 4. And then there's, let me use a different color. This part right here is 4, but that's not the entire box. We need this part too. So all together, this one side is 6 feet. And then the height, the width of this part right here, well, this entire thing is 5. So if this part is 2, that means this part has to be 3. So we have a 4 by 3 right here. So 6 times 3 is going to be 18. So this entire floor plan is going to be 22 feet squared. Now we need to find the volume of the room, so we need to multiply the height of the room, which is going to be 8 feet high. So we have 22 times 8. So we use the base times height for volume. So 22 times 8 is going to be 176 cubic feet. That's going to be 176 cubic feet. We're going to go ahead and submit. Is that all? Is that all the questions? I think so. Submit. It's auto grading, and we'll see if I got 100 or not. And I did get 100. Yay!